That's it.
Have you painted, Stu?
We have, Mark. Aye, we've had the painters in, mate. Aye, decorating. Yeah, that to be done. Yeah,
I like it.
Good evening,
right,
everyone. Welcome to DIY SOS with Stu Minnis, giving us a tour of his house. You're lucky, actually. When I pressed go live, he was actually in the toilet. So there you go. How's everyone doing? Are we all good?
Good. Aye, good.
I'm good, yeah.
Yeah, Jesus, you all right?
I'm fantastic, mate.
Good.
Happy as Larry.
In the week that brought us Pizzagate, Jackson Hastings' ban, which he served whilst playing for Wigan. We're on the verge of owning our own stadium. 24 hours ago, we were preparing to play Catalans, and now we're playing Castleford. It's just a normal week in rugby league, really, isn't it? So where should we start? Should we start, strangely, with the Leeds game? What we're after, 2 weeks on, Mark, your thoughts on the way we played against Leeds? A good win?
Good win. Liam Farrell was awesome. Happy days.
You'd be happy now. 100 tries. Good lad.
It was amazing. Not just that he scored his 100th try, but he was the best player on the pitch as well, I thought. Great performance.
He tried as well, didn't he?
100th try.
Yeah, we scored some nice scores as well. We played well.
Played really well. I mean, that the tries that we've scored, that try just before half time with Bevan French starting on one side of the field and the other side of the field. That's a try that we've been waiting years and years to see, isn't it? And all of a sudden, they're coming thick and fast with Bevan French in the team. David, Jesus, your thoughts on that performance, and that a performance that keeps us top of the table?
Exactly, it keeps us top of the table. It wasn't easy for long parts of the game, but pulled away towards the end as well. Still a lot of improvement as well, which is a good thing to see. I mean, it was an impressive scoreline, but you can see the potential there. You can see the attack getting ready to click together. The defence was coming together, and Farrell's effort to save that try was outstanding. I know Mark will be loving that comment, but it was just a result which maybe doesn't quite send a message just yet, because we're all still trying to find our rhythm and work out who's playing who which weekend, because it's like the national lottery through the week. But yeah, really pleasing performance.
Phil, touching on what David just said there, is a pleasing thing the fact that we're winning these games without George Burgess, without Ben Flower, without Oliver Partington. That strength in depth is pretty impressive at the minute.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think for me, I wanted to see in the Leeds game an improvement on the week before, because our set completion rate wasn't great the week before, and for me it looked better against Leeds, and it certainly sets us up for what would have been Catalan this week, but obviously it's Castleford again now. So yeah, I was looking forward to seeing a lot more consistent, maybe not the flamboyant style, but I wanted to see something more consistent this week. And against Castleford, we're going to have to do that. So,
our friend Matt, who may be joining us in a few minutes, got himself plenty of airtime as well against Leeds. Wrote some random people in with him. Stu, your thoughts on that Leeds game? I know any victory over Leeds for you is a personal milestone with your personal vendetta against Ronnie the Rhino, but your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, good. Only thing I was disappointed with was that little goat, Luke Gale, after the match. At the end of the day, he done what was wrong, and for him to say that the sport's turning soft, well, I haven't had a rant for ages, but that man. At the end of the day, Sean, I haven't. At the end of the day, that man, oh my God, the rules are in place. Abide by them. Move on. You know what I mean? If there's, I have to tell you somewhere. I hope he doesn't get picked for England, because no
worries with that. Our boy down under is going to be wearing that 7 shirt.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. All in all, good. A win's a win. I know it was scrappy, but we done it, and we move on to the next bit. And pity it wasn't our French counterparts who playing this weekend, because it could have been a bit interesting with ex-Wigan boys against us. But we move on. We're still top of the league, and we'll go again. Happy days.
I think this. I'll come to the comments in just a minute. One of the questions is Oliver Partington back this weekend or next? I think it's next weekend, isn't it? That he's back. Carol's just.
He got a 4-game ban, didn't he? So.
I think one of the things with the Catalans game, we'll come on to that in a bit more detail, but that was a game just that we were going to play and then we went into lockdown. It's a game that we never see we're dangling that carrot, because that feels like such a big matchup, doesn't it, at the minute? Two teams that are playing really well between Wigan and Catalans, and hopefully is when we eventually get to play them, they'll still be in the same kind of form. But it makes you wonder when on earth Catalans are actually going to catch up with the amount of games that they've got to play now, including the Challenge Cup. But let's go on to this feels like, well, it is massive news. The fact that we're literally potentially days or hours away after 21 years without having a stadium in our ownership, to owning a stadium, to having a new Central Park in our name, or Ian Lenigan's name, or our new billionaire investor's name, whatever it might be. Mark, your thoughts on that? Because we spoke about it a few weeks ago, didn't we, when that press release came out, and we were sort of cautious about it but optimistic. And now it appears it's a land grab, isn't it? It's for the stadium. They're selling off their assets. It feels like it's going to happen. But your thoughts on that, Mark?
Yeah, it's really exciting that it's going to happen. It kind of secures the main issue out of the Wigan athletic mess that applies to us gets resolved in the best way possible for Wigan Rugby League Club. It also, I guess, helps ensure someone who I think the town can trust in the ownership of the stadium facility for Wigan Athletic, if they can get through this, to be able to play there as well. I do think, it is a positive. I do feel for. I'm not from Wigan, so I'm not a Wigan Athletic fan myself, but I do feel for the fans and the club. That I know the training ground's been sold off to Preston North End, hasn't it, already? And so they've just got the little pokey training ground now around the corner from the stadium and stuff. But it's great for us. It gets everyone off our backs of all this nonsense about not owning a stadium. It gives us the opportunity for income streams like naming rights. You have to assume they'll have gone now as well. So with DW being sold off in bits and parts as well as the stadium being sold. So I'm excited.
When we spoke about this last time, David, we were talking about sort of the strange animosity between the football fans and the rugby fans, and maybe this was an opportunity to bridge that gap at that point. That feels to have taken a little bit of a turn over the past week. With if you read some of the comments on Twitter or on the sort of mud-hutted tweets and everything like that, as a land grab by Lenigan. And a lot of Wigan Athletic fans aren't happy about this. I mean, there's things about if they stay in, they're not going to spend any money in the stadium because that money will then come to us. And that division seems to have got bigger and bigger. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, growing up as a Wigan rugby fan in the 80s, when the sort of animosity was at its probably at its greatest at that point, when Wigan Athletic was struggling in the lower divisions, and it was purely based on Wigan Rugby being in the news every year, Wigan Rugby being Sports Personality Team of the Year, and that's where it stems from, in my opinion. That time you were one or the other. I know people that are St Helens fans and Wigan Athletic fans, which blows my mind, but it's supposed in the local football team. So I don't know when that division will ever be sort of bridged. I'm not sure it ever will be. Certainly not for a few generations anyway, because people my age still remember the animosity from 30, 40 years ago, and it's only the newer fans that are sort of the teenagers now, and they're obviously a while away from having the disposable income. But the Wigan Athletic fans, from what I've seen, they really don't trust Lenigan at all, and I kind of get it in a way, in some respects, because they were hopeful that somebody was going to come in and buy Wigan Athletic as an entire package and buy the stadium, buy the training grounds, and that's not materialised for whatever reason. Yeah. So obviously, they're looking at Lenigan now as an evil source, because he's preventing this from happening in their eyes, because he's after what assets will benefit him, which obviously the big one is the stadium. But like you said, Chris, the training ground in Exton seems to have been sold today, according to reports. I'm not sure even what's going to happen to Christopher Park either around the corner, but they definitely seem to think that it's maybe a spanner in the works. And obviously on the back of Wigan Rugby getting an investor in Mike Danson, who's 128th richest man in the country, when they're desperate for somebody to come in and invest in their club, and Wigan Rugby, who but obviously also inevitably clubs are struggling, particularly through the pandemic. But for Wigan to attract such an attractive investor, it probably just is a bit of a twist in the knife when it's already gone into them a bit hard, because he could probably bail them out, couldn't he, if he wanted to?
We'll come on to things to get
Jacko's flat and get the football club going again.
We'll get we'll get onto the exciting bits in just a second with Phil and Stu about what names, statues, colours of seats, go on to the real aesthetics, the real important things at the moment that we can get excited about. But Phil Howard says rename it the Totally Wigan Stadium. But I think New Central Park is the one for me. That'll be getting my vote. But like you said, Mark, it might be an opportunity to get some money in for naming rights. The Uncle George.
The trouble with New Central Park is it sounds too much like a car park. NCP.
It does, doesn't it? But I guess Central Park also sounds like
there's your sponsor.
Yeah, but there you go. It's just not a multi-story. We've only got one tier. Just coming back to your point there, David, about that sort of, I guess if you're a Wigan Athletic fan and you're looking at this and with a bit of cynical eye, it is that Lenigan sort of released that statement saying that they were interested in buying the club, and it looks like he's taken the opportunity just to get what he wants from it, where I don't think that would have been the case, but without any comment from Lenigan, and he's not going to make any comment until all of this is resolved, is he? He's not going to sort of put himself at a disadvantage, but that is what it looks like, isn't it, from an Wigan Athletic point of view. But we could have a stadium. There's an announcement, a press conference tomorrow with the administrators. I doubt that's when they'll announce the stadium sale, but within
Lenigan walking in.
Well, it would be like Lenigan to turn up with a whiteboard and sort of say, similar to that Sam Tompkins press conference of that the kind of flipboard that he had about this sort of transfer policy about how people would go to the NRL and we would get them back. That's kind of what I'm imagining. But I'm also imagining the Sean Edwards press conference, so I've not got good memories with those. Phil, let's get a little bit silly. Let's get excited. This time next week, we own the DW Stadium. I mean, are we talking about getting a bulldozer in, putting a rope around Dave Whelan's neck, pulling it down, and sort of putting a statue, getting the Billy Boston statue and putting it up?
No, I think the Billy Boston statue is best placed where it is. Part of me is, when we look at where Central Park was, I never got to go to Central Park, so I passed it loads and loads of times as a kid. I saw it every weekend, going visiting family. I don't want it to be called New Central Park because I've got to go to the DW. I never got to go to Central Park, so for me, it can stay at the DW for forever and a day. It doesn't bother me. Really doesn't bother me what the stadium's called.
It bothers me massively.
The total Wiggly Stadium.
He wanted something funny here. If we're going to call it the DW, what about the Dead Whelans? Or I don't know. Let's get creative.
As long as it's not called Totally Wicked, it's fine.
He's not having his initials over our stadium. I'm telling you that. I'm going pulling them down. Scenes of downtown Baghdad of that statue coming down will be.
Although I did see
statue stays up. I mean, Dev Whelan's statue.
I did see on Amazon wishlist about
stay there.
Go on, I saw on Amazon wishlist the couple of thousand seats of cherry and a couple of thousand seats of white, and I think that was Ian Lanigan's ones.
Yeah, I mean, what do we want
keep
to
the
see?
statue there and just build like much bigger statues around it to demonstrate how many trophies we've won compared to their one moment of glory.
A Morris Lindsay statue, but like 20 feet tall.
just patting Dave Whelan on the head. Just on the statue on the head. Cheers putting the bricks.
But Lenigan dragging all the trophies he's won over the last decade, like into knocking Whelan over.
I'm happy with the Whelan statue staying somewhere, but it needs to move from sort of prime position of our stadium. I mean, we'll put it in the soccer dome or something like that.
Next to the Chippy.
Yeah, next to that really successful Chippy that he opened. Yeah, let's put it there. Let's put it with all of these good things that he's ever brought to us. Stu, come on, what are we doing with this stadium? Talk, I mean, you're the flipping gardener here. Think visually. Tell us about what we're changing.
Landscaping.
What we doing tomorrow.
Right. You're on about
Going down to
changing the
B&Q.
seats, eh? I don't know if Mark Illingsworth noticed, but where I used to sit,
Never heard of him.
far from Mark, they're not red anymore. They've gone pink with the sun. Whip them out, let's have some cherry ones in, man. Let's brighten it up. Come on, Yeah. Why don't we call it the Wigan NHS Stadium? There you go. For what of all the thing on the end of the day.
It sounds like stupid. That's rubbish. Come on, it's all right. We've waited 21 years. Like, we were on the verge of moving to the Reebok. Like, we had nothing. We had to sell the stadium just to survive. Similar to what Wigan Athletic have got it done. And we've spent 21 years giving them rent. We've spent 21 years not taking a penny from the beer that's been sold at the stadium. It's not time to be, charitable or nice or rainbowy or NHSy or whatever. It's time to get Wigan. It's time to be.
I did see a comment earlier on. I did see a comment earlier on Facebook, I think, which was we should call it the Riversiders, which I think would be quite nostalgic, really.
Yeah, but
there's no river.
There is quite ugly to look at.
Yeah, the river's a bit rubbish, isn't it?
Shopping trolley.
It is, yeah, but
Warrior Dome. We've got Wigan Community Stadium from Josie on there as well, which I think we mentioned last time. As 5 people on the screen, our creativity is utterly rubbish. That's what
we need Matt for.
Well, yeah, that's because Ian Lenigan's going to buy it, and Ian Lenigan's not a creative mind; he's a business mind. All he cares about is naming rights. We ain't got to say.
I know we haven't got to say, but we've got an imagination. What about?
I'll tell you what, we ain't getting any seats replaced under Lenigan until there's some serious naming rights deal done.
So that leads me on to Gary's point. So what about taking out some seats and making safe standing? Do we want to see safe standing?
Good shout, right?
Yeah, we'll all buy into that.
Yeah, done right.
I'd be supportive of that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't know.
We'll pop that on the agenda. I mean, one of the good things that we've got, I mean, the strange thing from this whole Wigan Athletics sort of takeover is the previous owners before the dodgy owners and the dodgy owners put that massive screen in. So we're kind of like, we're getting the benefit of that huge screen as well, aren't we? It's like, why on earth did they put that in? It was like they moved house and the first thing that they wanted to do was get a massive plasma. And now they've had to sell their house.
What about the Wigan Warriors Fan TV Stadium? Get a cheeky bid in.
No, New Central Park. It has to be New Central Park. It just has to be New Central Park. The more times I say New Central Park, the more people are getting onto it, and the more we'll go.
Subliminal.
Yeah, it is. But I think, in all seriousness, this kind of thing will be, Lenigan will have to follow up on things that he suggested previously when the tables were turned, won't he? So he'll have to follow up on the idea of the joint season tickets, because that's always come from our end and there's never been reciprocated, I don't think, from the football club, has it? So all of those suggestions that we made at that time, we've probably got to enact on as a club moving forward when we do take over the stadium.
I don't see it as completely dead in the water that a Lenigan consortium couldn't still take over the Athletics. It's just getting the value right for that consortium. I don't think Wigan Rugby League would be taking on new investors if there wasn't the opportunity for us to buy the stadium. And there's the only opportunity for us to buy the stadium because there's an opportunity. But it's cutting off the wastage from Wigan Athletic first, because let's face it, they're probably never going to be a Premier League club again, unfortunately, for them.
And I think that's the biggest thing, isn't it? Particularly under a Lenigan ownership. This is Ian Lenigan, who had an involvement with Oxford United, and I think the aspirations of some Wigan Athletic fans that have grown up with Premier League football and winning the FA Cup are going to have to be realigned to be in a club that can compete at League One or League Two level and be happy with that. Because if Lenigan does take over the club, it's going to be based on the rugby model. It's going to be a case of bring the young lads through, sell them on, get the money, reinvest it in the club, and that is a model in football that won't sit particularly well, I think, with those that aspire for Premier League football. It's just not.
There's talk as well. Obviously, selling off their assets with the players as well. I mean, a few have already moved on, and there's strong rumours from the articles that I've read this week that a majority of the first team squad will be moved on, and they'll literally be left with under 23s, and it's not an attractive proposition for somebody that's coming in to buy a football team to try and progress them to get up to where the big money is. So yeah, it's definitely a realignment of their aspirations.
I mean, the thing that we've always, I guess, dreamt of is this opportunity to have our own stadium, and the reality of that we could have our own stadium and also have Robin Park just across the road. All of those possibilities and dreams that we've had about supporters clubs and having that opportunity to have a place where you can have a drink before the game, have a drink after the game, and there's so many new potential revenue streams for the rugby club, but there's also a big expense, isn't there, in owning a stadium, which would be new to us as well.
St Helens have found out during the lockdown,
Okay, WW Central is a suggestion. Kings of Rugby Stadium. I think, Josie, what is Zoom and how does it work? I mean,
that's not a catchy stadium name.
No,
I'm not voting for that one.
No, I mean, Zoom have probably got enough money to pay for the sponsorship rights of the stadium 1,000 times over, but that's not for us. The Wigan Believe Stadium from Carroll feels too football-y for me. That we're the Coliseum by Andy. So yeah, lots of different ideas, but we're all in favour, I think, of at least painting. I mean, painting the seats cherry red. I mean, when you go past Robin Park now and you see those red seats, it just feels
nice.
It's much better. Josie says, "I can't get on it." Don't try and get on it, Josie, because you'll end up on screen.
David will show out the wicket, Sean. David will show out the wicket.
So okay, it's just what we're broadcasting from, Josie. Don't worry about it.
Are we moving on from the Wigan Fan TV now?
Yes, I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that winding up session. And then tomorrow they announced that they're keeping the stadium and they've got £1 billion new owner, and I've got egg on my face. But never mind. Okay, let's move on then. Let's move on to something else, Mark. Let's move on to Pizzagate. So the deal that was being struck through Super League and Papa John's of free pizzas in exchange for sponsorship on TV, advertising boards, and all the Super League branding. Mark, your thoughts on that, because it's kicked up a little bit of a storm this week.
I think the storm's overplaying the situation here. Rugby League never misses an opportunity to miss an opportunity is something that Phil Kaplan regularly says. This is along those lines. The press release from Super League could have been put out very differently, or not put out at all. It didn't need to be put out there. All they needed to do is know that they got a new commercial partner that they're working with to try and actually get a bigger, better commercial deal from down the line. But instead, all they've done is given all Rugby League fans fodder to tell Papa John's that they're a bunch of idiots for getting into bed with the Rugby League because the Rugby League are a bunch of idiots. And now they won't want to fucking pay us any money next year, will they? Crazy.
Stu, seeing as you're yawning and we're keeping you up, let's come to you.
No, I'm not yawning. I'm just laughing at Mark's wedding.
Your thoughts on the Papa John's deal?
Well, what can you say? Waste of thing, innit? Move on. I don't agree there. At the end of the day,
it's definitely wasting money.
You don't want pizzas and that.
No money.
You want pies. Proper pies. Like we
there
are,
you go.
Pie men. Wigan men, pie men.
Galloways.
You know, let's have some pies. You know, whatever club you support, it should be a choice. Let's have some pies, man. Oh, what a bloody American crap. You know what I mean? Pizzas, Italian, bloody rubbish. Let's have some proper pork pies. Put a Branston pickle on. Put a piccalilli on. Watch the game then. Wash it down with a pepperoni in there. Let's crack on with it. Sorry, pepperoni, no pepperoni. There you go. Next.
Look, see, Papa John's have got into your mind already. The sponsorship deal's working out well.
It is, isn't it?
I know it's like that.
I think I was going on a meltdown about the stadium, but we found your passion, Stu. Get you riled up about pies and pizzas.
Yeah, you can't beat it. But hey, listen, one of these days after this lockdown, I'm going to bring you a lot when you're all at the match. A proper pie. You're on about pies and that. Lasso was on about it from Toronto all that time. Yeah, you haven't tasted a pie till you've had a Cranston's pie. I'm going to bring down you a lot, a bit of Cranston's pie.
Like Brian Cranston.
Cranston's a butcher's man. You'll love it. Google it.
Blue meth in them, have they?
No.
Okay, as we steer back from that strange dark alley of Cranston's pork pies with whatever they are, Phil, your take on that? And Kieran says in here it's like the Stobart deal years ago. Is it a case that we've just been stung by?
Not like the Stobart deal. The Stobart deal was title sponsorship of the competition. This is for having your bloody logo at the start of a video of online highlights. Stop blowing out of proportion, people. It means nothing.
But it's also on the advertising boardings at the stadium as well. It's not title sponsorship, but it's free sponsorship, isn't it? I think the point is, what other sport that classes itself as a top class sport would sell the sponsorship off for pizzas? For pizzas.
I think, to be fair, right, a lot of post-match food is pizzas, and sometimes you've heard coaches say, "Oh, we've ordered all these pizzas in after the game," blah 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 blah. It's now free because they're going to get it, so it's going to save a few clubs a few quid when they need it the most, and it also gives us a bit of sponsorship where we can work with further down the line. So the fact that it's not a monetary deal, it doesn't really bother me at this moment in time. It's something to look forward to. The fact that we've actually attracted a sponsor should be where we're looking at rather than it being a negative. So for me, I don't mind it, to be fair. I don't even like pizza.
Do we know how much the pitch side advertising sponsorship is worth? Do we know the value of that? Is it worth the same as delivering pizzas for how many people are playing each weekend?
Probably not.
I saw somebody work it out. It was like £500 a week or something. The sponsorship per team in terms of pizzas. So somebody came.
Well, then would a team pay £500 a game for pitch side sponsorship of a Super League match on television? I don't believe they would.
But it's not for the thing with this though as well. That's easy to lose track of. This isn't money that would be going necessarily to the clubs anyway. This is money that would be going to Super League to reinvest into the game. So the clubs are benefiting. I know it's pizza, but they're benefiting from a sponsorship that's been brought in. It's pizza. I know it's pizza.
It's never a good look when we give away something for free, but we haven't. They are getting something back. You might not value it. We might not value it, but
exactly. Whichever way you look at it, it's just all dough, isn't it?
Hey.
The bit that I wrote for the 18th man or whatever it is today was similar to what you said, Mark. Was I think the biggest. If none of us knew that this was free, would we have an issue with it? No, we've attracted a big name, haven't we? And the press release, I think an intern did that press release. It was embarrassing. It was shocking, but. The fact that nobody should have known that this was free. If nobody knows it's free, keep it under wraps, carry on, and hopefully it brings in somebody else. It's the attraction of the name with a big brand, and then that we go to somebody else. They don't need to know what they're paying, and we crack on, don't we? But yeah, it's pizza at the end of the day. Josie or somebody was saying, is it Papa John's in Calella? No, thankfully it's not that Papa John. Otherwise, without Andy Gregory doing the Sky commentary or something along those lines, seeing as he always gets himself in there. Players on pizza boxes from Kieran. I think that'd be good, but I don't think we're going to get there, are we? I was just watching Sky Sports News, and Papa John sponsors Sky Sports News in the evening, and there's an opportunity to get some Super League players on there. They've got people in sort of changing rooms eating pizzas. It's just not going to happen, let's be honest. That's the aspiration. It's just not going to happen, is it? Okay, let's move on to this week. Castleford should have been Catalans.
Hold on. Are we just going to skirt over the fact that Jackson Hastings?
No.
Right. Okay.
We're going on to the COVID issues. So 24 hours ago, we were playing Catalans, and then we've had some more positive tests. We look back at the Premier League and how many positive tests were in the Premier League. None. Or any games cancelled. None. We look at the Test match cricket. Anything moved? No. Why is Rugby League suffering so much over the first 3-4 weeks of a reinstated season? And then, like you've just said, Mark, the Jackson Hastings delayed suspension. Come on, Mark, get on your soapbox.
I'll let someone else go on this one. I spoke about a lot on Super League Pod this week, so someone else can have a go at this one.
I've got an opinion on it, but come on, somebody jump in on this.
I think the difficulty is you've got a tried and tested model which has been working in the NRL, and they've had no fixture reshuffles. They've had absolutely nothing. We've been back for a couple of weeks, and we've already had a couple of games that have been reshuffled around. Now, in the short term, it doesn't really make too much of a difference because you've got a team that's always going to be on a bye for 1 week. But the long term of that is you're going to have a team or teams that are coming towards the end of the season who are going to be 5 or 6 games where they need to play, which is just wrong. Why can't we just have the people following the rules and sticking to going to training and not going out and doing whatever they want to do and just being sensible, because actually they're the role models for people who are still stuck inside, who can't go out and do everything else, and they want to go out and see people. But these people are on TV, and that's what we want. We want to see games on TV. At the end of the day, there are teams in League One, Championship, who can't play, who are being offered this cup, which they're not going to do. Super League, we've got competition. Let's make it a competition. Let's keep teams in it.
I guess in terms of the NRL stuff, I think the aspirations of doing the NRL stuff are just not going to happen because of the bubbles and the sort of state guidance that's over there. And unfortunately, we're just not at that level. I think the other issue that I have is you talk about following the rules. Now, following general rules that are applied by the government is difficult enough as it is. Because you follow them one day and Boris does his U-turn the next day. But in terms of Super League rules, I think the issue with Jackson Hastings is he's brought rules 2 weeks ago that came in this week. These are rules that are being applied retrospectively. We didn't have this set of rules. I mean, we only had 6 months to make them up, didn't we?
He stepped outside guidelines that didn't seem to have any punishments applied to them until this. So the guidelines were in place months ago, but 2 months ago, but the punishments were not in place till this week. Is the way I see it.
Stu, your thoughts on this as I look at Anthony's comment of the Papa John Stadium? That's the winner so far.
For what Philip Thompson said there, absolutely 100%. There's people that hasn't been out for mental issues because they can't get out due to this COVID. Now, why can't we just stick to it? At the end of the day, it's our sport.
But what are we sticking to though? Like the
rules, Sean. At the end of the day,
what rules?
The club's got a list of guidelines, is my understanding. Those guidelines included stuff like not doing anything that would be like rehab or massage therapy or training or anything like that outside of your club's approved environment. And basically, the other half of the guidelines were stick to government guidance, and that's what the extra guidelines were given to the clubs.
Okay, sorry, Stu. Carry on.
No,
it's not like for me. The issue with that is that has come in over the past week. Mark has been made public over the past week, and
this is part of the problem. Yeah, it's not been made public, and how much of the players understood those rules and guidelines when they put in place. Probably more responsibility should be on the clubs than the players themselves. The clubs should have made sure the players understood the guidelines and enforced them themselves. And over any of this, I'm probably more disappointed with the club than the players in all of these scenarios.
Go on, Stu. Carry on.
All right. Yeah, basically, Sean, at the end of the day, we've been crying out for this sport to come back. And we've been, we've had the Aussie Rugby League to watch as a stand-in. As you say, they're managing. They're getting on with it. Why can't we? At the end of the day, look, just do as you're told. End of. Because if you don't do as you're told in a job, well, there's the door, get out. You know what I mean? I know it's a different thing, but as you say, we're in trying times, do we? We've got the sport back. Just stick to the rules. End of. It's not hard. Just do it.
David?
I have to, as I run my business, I have to myself, the amount of things I have to do since these new rules have come in is mental. A lot of it's common sense. But when I speak to the customer, you've got to keep distances apart. We have to put like a rope across where we're working now. We never used to, but we've got to abide by rules as well. Because if we don't, well, we don't get the jobs, and so we are keeping to it. Why can't them?
The biggest
It's
shock
hard,
for you,
yeah.
Stu,
You're not saying it's easy. It is hard, but we've all got to do it.
the biggest shock to you, Stu, is paying your bloody taxes.
Yeah. Behave yourself.
David, your second. I mean, the biggest, like, it's the leadership's poor on this. Wherever you look, the leadership from the government, the leadership from the RFL, the leadership from the Super League, perhaps, like Mark said, the leadership from the clubs themselves. But are the players ultimately not the ones that are responsible for this?
Yeah, everybody's responsible for their own actions. We've all been under different rules over the last few weeks. Obviously, with me being in Wigan and Greater Manchester, we've just had lockdown restrictions eased. So you know yourself who you can and can't see. Like, for 2 weeks, I wasn't able to go and see my mum again because I wasn't able to mix anybody that wasn't from my household. So players have got to take some responsibility. But like you said, everything seems to change so regularly what you can and can't do. But ultimately, they're now back into a position where they're being paid to do a job. That's their career. So ultimately, they should be doing whatever they can to safeguard, not putting themselves in a position where they may ultimately contract it. Because obviously, it's still rare, because otherwise, the Catalans players and the Hull players and everybody that's been involved in the last few weeks in the rugby league side, it just defies belief that. Are we just doing the testing properly? Is that why it's coming up? I can't seem to think that football will be testing properly and rugby league are. That would just be ludicrous. But ultimately, it lies with the players themselves. They need to know. They know when they're coming into contact people not from their household, don't they? Ultimately.
Yeah, it's unfortunately, I'd like to think that this is the last time that this is going to happen, but you just know that it's not going to be without any tighter guidance. And where do you get that guidance from?
Just to clarify, I think the clubs should have been giving the guidance out to the players that the RFL gave to them, and I think the RFL have reacted now with the bans that have been applied retrospectively to Wigan's benefit. And if I was Wigan, I'd not play Hastings this week to sort of uphold some sort of decency in this whole process. But Wigan and the other clubs have had these guidelines, but I don't think any punishments were in place. After the situation that happened with the Hull players, it brought this all into a sharper focus of just how on a knife edge this season is. And I don't think anyone was appropriately scared and concerned until that happened. Yeah. So now they've brought in these punishments. So that's why they've had to reply retrospectively, is my understanding and opinion.
I mean, to be fair to Jackson Hastings, he has been sort of nearly invisible in the past 2 games. So maybe he knew that he was, serving a ban, so he couldn't really apply himself. So he's been playing at 50% in the last 2 games. He was all right, but he knew that ban was coming. So he's being fair. I mean, if he'd scored a hat trick and got sort of like 7 assists in each game, you could guarantee that he would be banned for this week. But he did a deal with them, so that's fine. So let's move on to this week's game. Mark's already said he doesn't want Jackson Hastings to play. He wants him to be sort of stood down by the club because of that. We've got Oliver Partington still out. We've got George Burgess to return, Ben Flower to return. Remember him, Ben Flower, to return this week. Sean O'Loughlin's still out. Thomas Luluai returning. David, go on.
Oliver Gildart still out.
Yeah.
Still out. Yeah, remember him as well. Yeah, he was good, wasn't he?
Very
good. We've got Castleford this week. That 24 hours ago wasn't expecting to play this weekend. How do we see the game going? Any changes we'd like to see from the Leeds game? I guess particularly with personnel returning. Phil, how do you see it going?
If I was previewing Catalan, I'd have. I was going to turn around and say I want to see a really consistent performance from us, because I don't feel like we've been that consistent over the last couple of weeks that we've played. Castleford, though, they started okay, and then the other players sent off, and then they were woeful, and then the next game that I saw them, they weren't much better. They were okay, but they weren't great. So I can see this being one of those scrappy games that we just grind out a win and we just get through, and then we sort of look at the week after and go, yeah, we're going to build on that. But I don't see it being anything more than a pretty scrappy game, to be honest.
I I think there's a danger, isn't there, about preparing to play one team and then that being switched. No disrespect to Castleford, but that tie between Catalans and Wigan was mouthwatering. And to sort of get yourself up for that preparation of playing against the likes of Tompkins and Falau and McAlorum and all those players, to then have to play Castleford and Gareth O'Brien and it's not the same, is it? If we're being honest, but they're dangerous. They're very, very dangerous. Stu, what changes would you like to see to the team, if any, from the team that played against Leeds? Bear in mind those players that are returning, the likes of Luluai and George Burgess.
I would put Tommy on the bench to give Sam Powell a rest, because he's been putting some minutes in that lad. Like, he really has. Really impressed with Sam Powell lately. As for the bench, that cart horse we signed from the NRL, never thought I'd agree with David Bailey on that. I think we've signed the wrong Burgess. Let's just say that. But we'll leave that there. But on a going forward, if I was to pull a player who I was impressed with,
if you say Willie Iser, I'm kicking you off.
No, I wasn't gonna. I know you were wanting to say, but I'm not gonna. Joe Bullock.
Yeah.
Again, I slated him after the Salford game, and I know did, but he's impressed and he's put his hand up and he's had a go. I'm really impressed with him for what he's done since we've started back. So as for changing the team, I wouldn't. I'd leave it as it is. Just bring Tommy in and that's it. Nobody else. Just leave it at that. I'll just bring Tommy in, put him on the bench.
David, looking at you can only take so much from the sort of training photographs that they release and looking at the kits that they were wearing, I'd suggest that George Burgess and Ben Flower may be in contention to play. Your thoughts on the team and any changes you'd like to see, David?
It's that fine line, isn't it, of trying to play your best team to get that consistency going, but also making sure that as the games start to roll up, and there's potentially more risk of injuries, make sure that we've got people that are match fit and ready to go. I wouldn't change too much, but I'd certainly maybe have a look at maybe Flower or Burgess on the bench if any of the forwards are taking any knocks in. I think it's a good shout with Tommy on the bench rather than upsetting too much. I don't think Harry Smith's done a great deal wrong, and Sam Powell's just been immense. Like you're saying about Castleford, they're desperate for a win, aren't they? They put a better performance against Saints last time out, but they got absolutely hammered by Catalan, so they'll be looking for a win. And the good thing about this is we're not playing them at Weldon Road, so that I'm comfortable taking Castle on any ground in the world other than their own. So I think that's something that will weigh in our favour as well.
Peter's posed a really good question here for us, which we'll come to in just a second. But Mark, your thoughts on that? I saw you nodding about this sort of Tommy on the bench. Is that the future for Tommy? Is that how he's now managed and Harry Smith is managed?
I was if we were playing Catalan, I would have said we were going to lose by 10 points. So the switch to Castleford, I'm quite confident. I think we're going to win by 10 points. I'd be letting Clark have a time off the pitch and bringing either Burgess or Flower into the squad in place of Mitch Clark. I thought Smithies was massively improved against Leeds compared to the first game against Wakefield. Bullock was good as well. So I wouldn't probably be looking to do too much other with the forwards. I know Byrne and Havard can't keep playing every week. I don't think you got to give some rotation there with those guys, but we've had 2 weeks off, so I'm not sure that this week is where you start with that. But I'd bring Luluai in for Hastings, who I think the club should sort of not make an example of, but kind of show how seriously the club take following the guidelines. But for 1 week only, I want Jackson back in leading us to Old Trafford glory in November. But yeah, that's the only changes I'd made this week.
You made a presumption there that we're going to play the grand final at Old Trafford. At this rate, it's going to be played at Robin Park and played in February.
Or the new Central Park.
Central Park.
The new Central Park first game. So what we've taken from that is, there's a suggestion which I think is probably a really sensible one about how we managed Luluai potentially over his last season and get Smith in there, and that option of having him on the bench gives us that option, that covering halfback and cover at hooker if we need it. I am, like Stu said, I'm a little bit concerned about Sam Powell sort of burning himself out pretty quickly, because he's a pretty intense player doing 80 minutes. And there's a real danger there, isn't there? Because he has been absolutely incredible. And basically, David is saying that he'd rather play Joe Burgess as prop rather than George Burgess at this moment in time. And I'm not too far away from that, to be honest with you, David. But I think he has to play. He's our marquee player, and he has to play really well. And I can't see Wigan dropping Jackson Hastings because he's a sulky sod as it is. Can you imagine if they dropped him? I mean, he would be Pierre Van Hooijdonk all over again, and we wouldn't see him again. He would be on strike. And I think Ben Flower's going to come in, isn't he? To that, we've got to get him in and sort of benefit from that experience, particularly with we don't know when we're going to see Tony Clubb again. With that back injury that he's got. So let's quickly go around, get some predictions, and then I'll come back to Peter's question in just a second. Mark, let's start with you.
Wigan by 10.
David?
Wigan by 18.
Whew. Stu?
Wigan 31, Castleford 28.
Okay. Phil?
I don't think it's going to be a high scoring affair. I think Wigan by 4.
Well, I'm going to go Wigan 26, Castleford 4, and a measly 4 at the end as well. Just really feel sorry for them. But it's a strange game. Well, Castleford's just a strange place, isn't it? Let's go on to Peter's question if I can find it. We'll go around. This is a really good question. Which 3 players have improved since our return, and which 3 have disappointed? Phil, let's come to you first. 3 that have improved and 3 that have disappointed.
Oh, now you're asking.
I am. Go on. Do you want me to start? I'll start. 3.
Go on, you start.
3 that have disappointed is really, really difficult, isn't it? I would say, because it's hard to say that somebody's disappointed, but going off first performance, Smithies was disappointed in that first performance, but then he improved, which is harsh to say that he's disappointed, but it's hard to find 3 players that have been disappointing. Willie Isa was disappointed in that first game, and then he stepped it up in the second game.
What? Who'd have thought his hands could work like that after what we've seen?
But are we that impressed that a professional rugby player can catch a ball and pass it? Because that's all he did. if we're being completely honest, and Jackson Hastings, because nobody is really disappointed. So those 3, I would say. Oh, Mitch Clark. Clark put him in there.
I was going to say Mitch Clark, actually.
But George Burgess and Mitch Clark are the 2 that jump out to me, and then I'd be sort of struggling. I wanted to say French a bit, but that first game he had the injury, didn't he? And he did pop up for his tries in the second game. So, Hastings, like you say, he hasn't taken control of games, so you can argue there's disappointment there. But he was decent against Leeds. So Burgess and Clark,
Burgess
2.
and Clark are good shout, yeah. Yeah. Anybody for you that stands out that's disappointed?
Burgess, Clark.
Isa.
No, yeah. Listen, you're all going on about Willie. I know you're trying to wind us up there. What is that? It's not happening there. End of the day, it was rubbish. But he come up and he's here to go.
I just love how it's slowly getting darker in your room. You're going to lose you in a minute.
The end of the day, hey, David Bailey, wind your neck in. The end of the day, Mr. Lamb must think that he's doing all right, or else he wouldn't be playing, would he? So we'll leave it at that. Move on, please. Thank you. Mark, yours.
Background.
Just slowly, as we lose David. It was a loose shoot to the darkness. Phil, right, go on then. Are we all got agreement?
My first thought was Mitch Clark, because I wanted him to come off the bench and start games and be an aggressive forward. Maybe against Castleford.
Yeah, there's an opportunity there.
The rule changes.
Either they're really good.
Yeah.
No, they don't, and that's the difficulty. And same with why Isa didn't really.
Where's he going?
Pull me away. It's because he gave too many penalties away. It changes the momentum in the game, and when you've got 6 again and 6 again and 6 again, you're going to get a tired defence. Sorry, Stu.
Yeah.
But
let there be light.
That's the way we are. And so, yeah, for
Is that a shower
Mitch Clark's
curtain?
probably been the biggest disappointment for me. And yeah,
I hope your
I'll go with
missus
Isa
is-
from Leicester soon.
What?
Yeah, Ice has got that. I hope your missus isn't behind that shower curtain behind you.
No, she's downstairs with her arm in a sling, man.
The way that you rubbed your nose after that was like, I put her in that thing. That is not okay, Stu.
Pack it in,
That is no.
Pack it in. Pack it in.
Lockdown was tough for Stu.
Right.
David, any other different names to throw in there as disappointing?
I don't think Marshall's done much from my liking.
We've got Manfredi on the comments as well.
Yeah. We've had a few. It's hard, isn't it? Because not many have really stood out shining, and quite a few of them have had various points where they've been awful. But you don't know whether that's just don't forget they've had to go through lockdown as well. It's psychologically for them as players, it must have been tough. So yeah, no other names, not really.
Right.
I think the difficulty with Manfredi is that he, over the last few years, he hasn't had any regular game time because of his injuries. Yeah. And now that he's getting a couple of starts, I think he needs more game time before we properly see the best of him. I mean, I know he came back and scored the try in the grand final, and that was amazing. But he has had some serious time away from the game. So I was going to say Manfredi, but I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt for the next couple of weeks.
How much opportunities have our wingers really had? I mean, we dropped so much ball on the way to the wingers during the Wakefield game that they didn't really get much.
To be fair, he didn't
anyway.
end up playing on the wing, did he? He ended up playing centre.
Yeah.
And I think we've got two centres who I don't think are particularly centres. We've got Bibby and Hardacre who, I don't know what Bibby is.
A nice fullback who's playing on the wrong position.
Yeah,
he's off. He's off.
We have, but French.
Shall I go there?
French isn't.
Well, you might want to play a fullback and a halfback. That seems like you're obsessed with putting a winger at halfback. You want to do the opposite to what Wayne Bennett did in the autumn.
Yeah. I'm just wondering whether you're that Australian journalist that wrote that he's been starting at halfback over Jackson Hurst.
No.
Right, the three that have impressed. I'll Havard, Byrne, and somebody else. Who else? Powell.
Hardacre.
Powell.
Powell's impressed, but I don't know if he's unexpectedly impressed. I think he was performing like that all year, Powell.
Well, you're giving him the Liam Farrell treatment then. He set his bar so high that he's not impressing you anymore. You told me off for saying that about George Williams.
Who told you off?
Mark. He roasted me when I said George Williams didn't perform at the levels we expect of him.
I just feel sorry sometimes for George. We expected him to be Brett Kenny every week just because he was our best player. That's not the way it works.
I think that's the same for anybody. Right, Kieran Smith is banned. Zach at fullback, French at halfback with Hastings. Get off, Kieran. French at halfback.
As a point, two players who have impressed me have been Zach Hardacre and Bevan French. And Zach Hardacre purely because he's playing not in his, in my opinion, his best position, which is at the centre. And then he's had to adapt to that quite often during a game and had to go back to fullback. And then Bevan French, who started a game at fullback and then played at the wing and, to be fair, did okay. And then the following week, for that run that he did, that was just like, he just seemed to be everywhere on the field. So, to be fair, actually played really well at fullback, which really annoyed me because I was just like, no, put him in the halves. But to be fair, actually, he did absolutely amazing at fullback. And so two players that have impressed me have definitely been Zach and Bevan.
It helps when you score tries when you're offside, though.
It certainly does, yeah. But to be fair, if you draw a line like that, it was brilliant. He was onside.
It was the same line that the touch judge was looking at for the Bristol.
It was
exactly.
The video ref was just desperate to get back into the change rooms for his Papa John's pizzas. I mean, I guess the good thing, consistency across there was, the young lads are really stepping it up, aren't they? Havard and Byrne and Smith.
Yeah.
Harry Smith, we're we're expecting him to just perform, aren't we? And this is his first season, really, in the first team. Phil Howarth suggests Flowers to fullback and French to prop. I'd rather see French at prop than put him in halfbacks.
Has anyone actually watched French play in the halfbacks? Was anyone at Wakefield away last year when he came off the bench and played at halfback? Honestly, if you were there and if you saw it, you would never, ever ask for him to play at halfback. Fullback, amazing. Wing, absolutely amazing. Not halfback, no.
He's a winger. He's a winger who's playing fullback.
He's learning to play fullback and he's doing a decent job, isn't he?
But he's being guided around the pitch by Zach Hardacre and Jackson Hastings defensively, I think. Bevan French isn't a defensive fullback that when you're on your own line, it's dictating to you like Sam Tompkins used to do. And that's where we lose a little bit. And that's where we might sort of get found out in the games against the likes of Catalans and Saints later on. But we're not there.
I think if that happens, though, Zach will go to fullback.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know whether Lamb's strong enough to make that decision, but
I think Zach will do it. I think Zach will go to fullback.
Yeah, true. Okay, there we go. What a crazy show. New Central Park tomorrow. Bevan French moving to halfback. All those sort of usual things. But gents,
I think we should play Morgan Escray over Sam Tompkins. I think that's what we need to do.
I am really disappointed that a trialist has not played yet. Yeah. Why did we get rid of Escray? There you go.
We needed a different bench warmer, didn't we?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, let's make them. The news that came out this week about Bevan French going back to the NRL, pretty much. Let's just enjoy them while they're here. Let's enjoy this strange season, not knowing who we're playing, and potentially buying our own stadium. Who would have thought that 6 months ago that we might have our own stadium? Well, that is the thought to leave you on. New Central Park. Just imagine the noose around Whelan's neck as the statue is pulled down. The erecting of Billy Boston in his place. The painting. The manual. Let's go down there. Let's paint the seats ourselves. The manual painting of all.
Don't offer. The club will have us up on that.
Yeah. No. Do you know what? If we own the stadium, I'll go down and paint.
I'd do that. I'd be well up for that.
I mean, you end up with more paint on the floor than you would on the seats, but
absolutely,
it's red everywhere. Red paint.
I might just leave David's seat blue. So everybody knows that you're the Warrington fan. Right, gents, thank you for joining us. Let's see. I mean, we're supposed to be playing OKR on Thursday next week, so maybe we'll play them next week. But thank you for taking the time. Thanks for all your comments and contributions. And it's time to end as Martin Joe puts the comment in there saying, "Bring Navarrete back." See you all next week after Wigan still top of the table this time next week. See you, gents.